Robert Pattinson as Batman. What do you think?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, why do you say that?
Good choice. He's interesting.
Did you see the Safdie
I'm sure he'll
Brothers
come up with
movie that
something
he
really
did?
interesting.
Yeah, it's
He's
amazing. That's why he got
fantastic.
got Batman.
Yeah.
That's what.
Good actor.
Yeah, he's really good.
What's your advice to him slipping into that suit?
Oh, same as for Ben, just be able to pee by yourself. You don't feel much like a superhero when you can't take a piss.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. So we finally found out what Christian Bale thinks of all this Robert Pattinson Batman news. So we'll break it down. We also have a plot synopsis for the Batman movie. We'll do a new giveaway for the Batman Beyond special editions. They just re-released it in HD. It actually looks amazing. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your best new Batman theory on the video. There have been a couple rumors about the comic book storylines. They've been basing it on The Long Halloween and Dark Victory and then Haunted Night because it's going to be a new Batman trilogy. So we'll break that down during the video. But if you didn't catch it, Matt Damon actually references a couple things. Obviously, there's some funny jokes about them putting a zipper in the new version of the Batman suit. Even though he's a champ, Christian Bale will always tell the story about how infamously he made all three of those Batman movies, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, through all the different versions of his suit. Even though they tuned them, he only got a couple suit changes, but they would make slightly different versions based on the types of scenes they were filming. And in each case, through all three of those movies, none of the suits actually had a zipper that he was able to use to go to the bathroom. So just imagine him walking around on set with a team of people trailing him just to help him go to the bathroom. And he did that for 3 separate movies. No one thought to just add a simple zipper to his suit. I'm assuming that because of the type of story they're telling, a neo-noir detective thriller, Batman World's Greatest Detective, that he's going to be way less armored than previous versions of the character. Ben Affleck in Batman v Superman, probably the most armored up we've seen Batman in a live-action movie. Even Christian Bale wore a pretty thick version of the armor. It makes sense if the movie is not going to be quite as big of an action film as previous Batman movies before, that his costume will be a little bit more like the classic Batman costumes. I don't know exactly what the color tones are going to be, but hopefully they go for some deep cuts. This is the funny story that Ben Affleck tells about all the other previous versions of Batman, those actors giving him advice when he was first cast as Batman.
So did you reach out to any of them?
You know, I didn't reach out to any of them. I have talked to many of them since. I had a really interesting encounter. I was buying my kids one Tuesday afternoon. We went to a costume shop, a Halloween shop. There was nobody in the place. The woman proprietor didn't recognize me or didn't care at all that I was in that. And I was in there with my kids, and I heard this voice say, "Oi, is that you, Ben Affleck? Is that you here?" I looked around. That's my British accent. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I looked around and I saw Christian Bale. And the first thing I thought was, Christian Bale is British? He's such a good actor. I thought, I really was like, and he was very friendly. He was there with his kid buying Halloween costumes too. And apparently she didn't recognize him either. And,
This is quite the store.
it was this Los Angeles costume shop. And he was very generous and kind. He's a wonderful guy, and he said, make sure they put a zipper in that suit. I did 3 movies with no zipper in my outfit. So he gave me some very practical advice. And
did you take that advice?
I did take that advice, and it proved quite useful.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was very, very kind to me and very sweet, and I appreciate it because it would have felt awful if I thought, that he was going around going, "Can you believe what they put in that Batman?" And I ended up running into Michael Keaton and I talked to Clooney briefly, whose advice was unrepeatable. And
what was his advice?
It's just a string of epithets. Really. That's George.
That clip's from back around Batman v Superman era when they were promoting the movie. That's why Amy Adams is sitting there with them while they're telling that story. After listening to that, don't you want to know what Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer told him about being the Batman? Even Tom Holland on Spider-Man Homecoming said that Michael Keaton gave him some great advice about becoming this huge, iconic comic book character.
We were doing a scene that's actually in the trailer, and Michael Keaton, I've just punched Michael Keaton in the face. Bah! And he's on the floor, and I'm standing over him, and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm Spider-Man." And he looked up at me and was like, "Yeah, well, I'm Batman."
But if you didn't catch it during the clip at the beginning of the video, when Matt Damon references the Safran brothers movie that won Robert Pattinson the Batman role, they're talking about Good Times. If you haven't seen that movie, just brief plot synopsis. It's basically the story about a bank robber stopping at nothing to free his brother from prison, launching himself into a night-long odyssey through New York's dark and dangerous criminal underworld.
So I told you about my brother, yeah? Something happened. I don't know exactly what. He's been arrested. He's being held at Rikers Island.
It's a great movie, but the plot synopsis for that sounds eerily similar to the plot synopsis for the new Batman movie. The plot synopsis for the new Batman movie just reads, there's a string of murders that no one can solve. That takes them around to all the different criminals that are going to show up during the film from the Batman comics. So you have the Riddler, you have the Penguin, Two-Face, Mad Hatter is also apparently supposed to be in the film now. So that's where you get your detective story, and does that not sound like the plot of Batman The Long Halloween? Not exactly the same plot, but also a little bit like Batman Mask of the Phantasm. There's a mystery killer, nobody knows who it is, Batman suspects some of his biggest rogues, so he goes around investigating them, finding out that they're not the ones that are really behind the murder. If you've never read The Long Halloween, just brief explainer for what that story is. Just careful for spoilers for The Long Halloween. The plot of the movie will not be exactly like the plot of the comic book, though. During the story, it's relatively early in Batman's career. He does not know that Selina Kyle is the Catwoman, so he's dating Selina Kyle as Bruce Wayne. Selina Kyle also does not know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle go to a party thrown by Carmine Falcone for his nephew's wedding, and at that party, Carmine Falcone tries to pressure Batman to help launder money through one of his banks with him. Batman turns him down, they try to leave the party, but as they bolt, they find Harvey Dent has been roughed up. This is before he's become Two-Face, so Carmine Falcone is putting pressure on Harvey Dent to back off of the mob and his business. Batman forms a pact with Harvey Dent before he becomes Two-Face and Detective Gordon to take Carmine Falcone down without stepping over the law. Eventually, during that story, he winds up throwing the acid on Harvey Dent's face after he becomes district attorney, scarring him for life. Then a bunch of mystery murders start happening. Batman goes around investigating Carmine Falcone, finds that he's not behind the murders. All the murders start happening after he becomes Two-Face, though. Batman suspects that Harvey Dent Two-Face is revenge killing all these mobsters in retribution for what happened to him, but then eventually finds out that it's not Harvey Dent, but someone close to him. Then later, careful for spoilers for the end of the Long Halloween storyline. You find out that it was Harvey Dent's wife, Gilda, that took retribution on the mobsters for destroying her marriage with Harvey Dent, scarring him for life. Two-Face was so depressed that he felt like nobody would ever be able to love him, even his own wife. So his wife still loved him, but she was so angry at what had happened that that's why she ran around committing all these murders. Even though the plot of the movie is going to be very different, it's a situation like that where Batman immediately suspects that one of his leading villains is probably behind a bunch of murders, secretly finds out that it's actually someone else, and winds up being a big twist. But it's so early in his career, he's still a pretty young Batman, that he hasn't learned that Selina Kyle is Catwoman, so you also have the fun of him chasing Catwoman around as Batman, but walking around with Selina Kyle in broad daylight as Bruce Wayne. With neither one of them knowing each other's secret identity that they slowly discover over the course of that story. The animated Batman Mask of the Phantasm movie, Fantastic, also has a plot that's relatively similar to the plot of Batman The Long Halloween, with Batman investigating this phantasm villain that's going around killing all these mobsters. He doesn't understand the motive, he doesn't know why, and it turns out it's someone who was very near and dear to him in his past that he almost had a chance to get married to at one point before he decided to become the Batman.
Your father's dead, isn't he? You came into town early to get Chucky Saul, so you could shift the blame to your father if you had to.
They took everything, Bruce. My dad, my life, you. I'm not saying it's right or even sane, but it's all I've got left. So either help me or get out of the way.
If you haven't seen that movie, be sure to go watch it at some point. It's fantastic. One of the best Batman movies of all time. Not just a really good animated movie, but also one of the best Batman movies, period. I believe they're shooting the movie early next year, so I think they're going to announce the Catwoman and their other major cast before the end of the year, so we'll find out who's going to be the new Selina Kyle pretty quickly. Let me know in the comments, who do you want to be Robert Pattinson's Catwoman if they're going to be doing that romance during this new trilogy of Batman movies? I'll do more Batman videos as we get more details about the movie and find out about more of the cast. You're just hearing a lot about it right now because the studio is ramping up to start production. Everybody click here to watch Robert Pattinson himself explain the Batman movie, and click here to learn about the supposed new Wolverine vs. Hulk movie that's happening at Marvel. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.